Hello friends. In this video, I'll show you how to set up a very simple but very effective VTuber or PNGTuber, GIFTuber, whatever you want to call it, in OBS Studio. First, let me get at why you'd use this method and why I'm not a fan of software like these for VTubing. All these softwares use some kind of face head tracking, and it's cool, but I don't think slight head turns and blink tracking add much to a stream. Actually, I don't think they add anything to it at all. On top of that, they are very expensive, money-wise and PC power-wise. There is a simpler way using OBS. Basically, to have a looping video and on top of that, have an open mouth. Set it up so that when you talk, the mouth opens or appears, and you can also set it up so that everything rotates or changes position when you talk. That's the simple version, and you can see we've made a bunch of them using that method. A plugin for OBS is needed for this, but it's free and it's very lightweight. Most of these are just an image for the desk, an image for the open mouth, and a looping WebM video for the body. Not much PC power goes into running it. And to take it even a step further, we've made some complex characters using this method. But these are long loops, 40 seconds each, and talking doesn't change the rotation or position or anything like that. It just opens the mouth. That allows me to actually animate. So I can have a character moving all around, doing all kinds of stuff, instead of just remaining stationary behind the desk. These are two versions of our VTuber character. The one on the left is the simple version, and the one on the right is the more complex version. Both are cool, all depends on what you're looking for, but for me, the one on the right is way more fun to make because I actually get to move it around and animate it. And before I actually show you how to set it up, I have to say, the idea came from this video from this guy right here. I can't take credit for coming up with this method, but I think we've made some cool stuff using it. So thank you to this guy. We need the audio move plugin for this to work. Alright, it's called a move transition plugin. So download it here. Link will be somewhere around this video. Download the installer, unzip it, run it, and install it. Restart your OBS, and you should be all set. Now in OBS, I have a blank, brand new scene. It's much cleaner to set it up in its own scene. Add a source, media source, and this is going to be our looping video. So I'm going to name it something about video, something with video. Navigate to my file and add it. Make sure to click loop. Add another source, image. This will be the open mouth. And same for the closed mouth. Add source, name it, closed mouth. And you can see what I'm doing manually, just turning on and off the open mouth. And it looks like he's talking. And that's basically how it works. Except we're gonna have our voice turn it on and turn it off. Now I'm gonna add the desk or the background in some cases. Drag it to the bottom. Now this is an important step. I'm gonna select the video and the two mouths, and I'm gonna right click and group them and rename it. Now I'm gonna add an audio input capture and name it VTuber B mic. I'm gonna choose my mic. This will be different for you and your setup. On the open mouth, on the mouth open image, I'm gonna right click and go to filters. Add a color correction filter and turn the opacity down to 0. Now on my microphone, I'm gonna right click and go to filters. This is where that plugin we installed comes in. Add a filter and select audio move. I'm gonna rename it to mouth open because this one is gonna open our mouth. We're gonna add another one after this, so it's good to name it correctly. Leave magnitude and easing alone. Action change to filter enable. Source, choose whatever you called the mouth open layer. Filter, choose the color correction that we added. Threshold action, change to enable under, disable over, and the threshold is the volume at which you have to talk to trigger the filter. This may be different for your setup, but I found mine is good at 3.07, but it's active, so you can talk and you can check to see if it's working. You can't hear the audio from the VTuber video, but you can see my voice in the audio mixer, and when it goes up, the mouth appears. Now we're gonna add a filter to make the bee move when we talk. He's gonna move up and down. So right click on the mic, go to filters, and add another audio move. Rename it to bee move. Keep easing and action where they are for now. Scene, choose your scene. Source, choose the source you wanna move. I wanna move the group. The whole B group with the mouths in it. So mine is the B group. And you can see it's already working, just not exactly how we want. Right now it's moving left to right because it's on position X. So change it to position Y. And I want it to move up when I talk, so I have to change the factor to -1000. And it's too jittery, so I'm gonna turn the easing way up. And if you add one of these filters to make the character move when you talk, I highly recommend turning the easing way up. Otherwise it looks crazy. So the base value is the starting value. Right now, my Y position is at 500, not what I want. So 0 is good. The default was good for this. I just wanted to show you how it worked. And there it is, all set up and looking good. And I'm gonna set up one more in a very similar fashion, but it's slightly different. And I'm gonna show you a problem that you may run into. So quickly, I'm gonna make a new scene, add all the sources, same way as before. Now I always render every video and image the same size because it's much easier. Like in the case of the bee, the video and the mouths were all the same size, but this bat is a little bit older and the sizes are different. So to line up the mouths perfectly, so there's no overlap, you can set one mouth to where you want it and go to transform, copy transform. Then go to the other mouth and right click, transform, paste transform. Add the desk and the mic, add the color correction filter to the open mouth, and I'm speeding through this because it's the same as the last one. So far, nothing new. Add the audio move filter to the open mouth, but the second audio move filter to make the group move or rotate is where we run into some trouble. So let's add the second audio move filter and set it to rotate. And it's rotating from the top left corner. To fix that, let's go to the bat group. Right click and go to transform. Edit transform. And for positional alignment, choose bottom center. We want it to rotate from the bottom center. But when we select that, it disappears because it took the old top left corner, and made it the new bottom center, and it's off the screen and we can't see it and we can't grab it. So I just Control Z to undo that and move it down before I change the positional alignment. And now I can go in and adjust the settings to make the rotation a bit nicer. And also we can add multiple of these filters on top of each other. So I can add another one to make the bat get bigger and scale up when I talk. For scale, change the base value to 1 and make the factor smaller and turn up the easing. Before I move on to the more complex characters, I want to show you why we made them in a separate scene. So now I can go into any scene and add these characters quickly and easier, and it's much cleaner than doing all that we just did into every scene we want to add that character into. Now when I say complex version, I mean the animation is complex, not the setup. The setup is actually easier. there's less moving parts to it. So make a new scene. Add a new media source. Name it Fox or whatever. Make sure loop is checked. Add another media source. Name it Fox or something, mouth open. Check loop and make sure this restart playback when source becomes active is checked. It's checked by default, so you shouldn't have to check it, but important to know. And yeah, so make sure that's checked. And there's our mouth, but it's not synced up. We have to group the two videos, and when we turn the group off and then back on, the videos restart at the same time and everything is in sync. Now all we gotta do is add a mic that will turn the open mouth video off and on, same way that we did it before. Add a new input capture, choose your mic. On the Fox open mouth, add a color correction filter and turn the opacity to 0. On the mic, right click and go to filters. Add an audio move filter. You can rename it. Action filter enable. Source is Fox mouth. Filter color correction. Threshold action. Enable under, disable over. And threshold for me is 3.07, but it might be different for you. It's the volume you have to speak to trigger the filter. And it's live, so check how it looks. And that's it for the complex version. There's no movement with the audio because all the movement is in the animation already. And I'll just show you how it looks in the same scene as the others. All the characters you see in this video are for sale on our Etsy shop, so you can check them out there. But if you want to make your own using this method, I have a couple tips. Do everything and render everything in a 1920 by 1080 canvas, or at least the same size. So it doesn't have to be 1920 by 1080, but everything should be the same size. It ensures the placement of everything. When you're putting it into OBS, it's so much easier to just have everything the same size, everything snaps together. Yeah, it's much easier. Set up the VTuber in its own scene. It's so much cleaner, so much nicer, so much easier. The mouth can't move. If you're trying to make something like what I called the simple version in this video, the mouth can't move at all. And that basically means the head can't move at all either. They have to be stationary, 100% stationary for this to work. Simplify. On my old characters, I have a base video with no mouth, and then I have an image with a closed mouth and an image with an open mouth. That's 3 layers. In my newer characters, I have a base video with the closed mouth on it and a layer with an open mouth on top. That's 2 layers. It might not sound like much, but it is. 2 layers is better than 3. It's easier and cleaner in my opinion. And finally, you don't need animation. Could do all this with just static PNGs, and the movement would come from the audio move when you talk. So if you're afraid of animation or you don't do animation, that's right. You can still do one of these on your own. And kind of all I got for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I think it's a very good way to have sort of a lightweight VTuber where all the software is free. You don't have to worry about head tracking, eye tracking, webcams, all that stuff. It's pretty simple, in my opinion, compared to other VTuber stuff I've used. Thank you for sticking around to the end. If you have any questions with setup or you're making one yourself, ask a question in the comments. I'll help as much as I can. Thank you very much. Goodbye.